Did anything I say bother you up to now? Okay. So I was talking about my experience with different people raised in the South Pacific. They were brought up in a world where they were very different and they wore no clothing at all. This was 65 years ago. I don't know about today. But anyway, they wore no clothes and I never saw a male stare at a female body that was brought up there. They were swimming nude ever since they were this high. So they had no curiosity or anything. But if you covered the nose of a female, I can assure you, if you showed a male half your nose, he would have to loosen his collar. You were brought up in that kind of culture. You understand? So everything that we think with and think about is pumped into your head ever since you're this high. You're an American citizen. You're a Catholic. You're a Lutheran. Pumped into your head. Who loves you more than anybody? I don't know, Mommy. Your Mommy and Daddy. They pump that in your head. What's the greatest country in the world? This country. That happens to all people all over the world. They're all fucked up. So when I use the term normal people, I mean fucked up. I mean their values. By the way, there's no bad language. Because if you bake a pie, I don't know, and you drop it, you might say fiddly-dee. He might say shit. That means I'm sorry I dropped the pie. Nothing to do with fecal matter. You know what I mean? So there are no bad words, it's just the way you're brought up. Okay? In the Army, if a guy borrows some money from another guy, he says, I can't pay you this Saturday. He says, fuck it, pay me when you can. Well, fuck you means I don't agree with you sometimes. It depends on how it's used. It's one word that can mean many things. Bullshit means I can't accept what you're saying. So there's no bad language. When a person says, well, that's not a nice way to talk. Well, what is a nice way to talk? Even scientists are full of shit. You wouldn't expect that of me. But I'm telling you they are, as long as they work for every separate country. If they work on nuclear weapons, bombers, our universities are better equipped than ever. They have the best microscopes, the best weighing devices, and the wars are getting worse. The bombs are getting worse. Nuclear is getting worse. The cobalt bomb, there's a flicker bomb, it's a bright light goes on and off. It's out in space, and it gives people epileptic seizure by light going on and off real fast. So we're not civilized yet. As long as there's war, police, prisons, crime, we're not civilized. As long as we spend most of our money on weapons systems. Even war, all wars are corrupt. Let me give you an example. If they take your life, or they ask you to put up your life to defend this country, and say he does, I think if he does that, and all the volunteers do that, we should conscript all the war industries so no one makes a buck out of war. No one sells airplanes for $1 million a piece with all kinds of sensors on it, submarines, aircraft carriers. War is big business. It always had been. It always made a lot of money. Am I bothering anybody? Total conscription, men, machines, material and money for the duration. After the war, give it back. They say buy war bonds, that brings Johnny home faster. Why wait for him to buy war bonds? Take his fucking money and bring the boys home. If you take their lives, don't you understand that? So if you want to talk to soldiers, if there are any here, are there any soldiers here?
Marines.
Marines, okay. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Does it bother you?
No.
Oh, no.
So when you talk to Marines, are you still in the service?
No.
Good.
Me and him were
Talk to
together.
Marines against the war, talk to them about total conscription.
Oh, yeah.
Not that the Army is full of shit, although it is.
Oh, yeah. I don't think anybody else is more full of shit than them.
Okay. You guys are amazing. Maybe that's why you're here. Anyway, it's harder to get to normal people. Normal means under the influence of propaganda. All newspapers, all television stations sell time. They're businesses. They don't have guys like me on the air because that disrupts their business. You understand that? So, although in foreign countries They invited us to China, Dubai. We've been there. We've been to Dubai, and they wanted me to design a new city there, and the tallest building in the world, and a lot of other things. So I said, I want to look around first and see what you're doing. Well, they laid out the red carpet, gave flowers to Roxanne, you know, brought the 40-foot limousine over to us at the airport, picked us up, showed us around, fed us well, and then they asked a question. What do you think of our society? I went like that. It's not going anywhere. They said, well, we're building cities in the sea, not cities, they're islands, artificial islands, Palm Island. You know about that?
Yeah.
And it's for tourists mainly. And they sold most of the houses on the island for $1 million. So the sales were so great, they put houses in between. And then now they're being sued because they're making a slum of it. They're filling it up. Anyway, they said to me, what do you think? I said, it's not going to go anywhere if you depend on tourists. Because the tourists will stop flocking there as soon as the economic system goes, which is a short time from now. Well, they disagreed with that. I said, bringing architects there and engineers and putting up every building a different size, like New York, is chaos. But if you're brought up in New York, you might even sing, New York, New York. I love it. If you're brought up in Chile or any place, you'll love it, no matter where you're brought up. So the problems are, what is a useful direction for society to take? Well, this is a direction I'm going to point out. If enough people like the Venus Project, what the Venus Project hopes to do is declare all of the world's resources as the common heritage of all the world's people. The earth and all its resources. No more separate nations. So anyone can go anywhere. Before the states joined together, they used to stake out their territory. They used to fight. They had militias. They would fight. This is our territory. Oh no, you're intruding. When all the states joined together, the government worked out the lines of the states and they agreed, and that was the end of territorial disputes. If you want the end of war, you must declare the earth common heritage. If few nations control most of the earth's resources, I don't care how many treaties you sign, how many laws you make, there will be war. Do you understand that? Okay. By the way, since you're new here, if you disagree with anything, interrupt me. Interrupt me if you disagree or don't quite understand it. It's perfectly all right. If you don't do that, I consider you impolite. It's polite to interrupt me if you don't understand it. Okay. So, not only that, but you must take away all the artificial boundaries made by people. And you must grow food without artificial coloring, flavoring. You can't accelerate animal growth by giving hormone shots, because if they speed cell multiplication and a chicken grows faster and a cow grows faster, those fast cells are bad for humans. So they know that cancer is on the increase. And so cigarettes are cancer sticks, whether you smoke or not. And why do they allow it? Because the government makes a lot of money on cigarettes, a lot of money on whiskey, beer, bar, all that crap. Okay? And a lot of money on drugs, the drug business. Now, there used to be a book, which I'm sure most of you never heard of, 100 Million Guinea Pigs. If you heard of it, raise your hand. 1, 2.
Because of you.
That book pointed out to drug companies what they're doing. Why don't they find out natural ways of healing people, like celery juice cuts down on high blood pressure, but there's no money in it. The pill you can get $2 for. So the monetary system is basically corrupt. You can pay people off, senators, governors, make money. As long as they make money at it, you're never going to get the truth.
Viagra, for instance, was developed for pulmonary hypertension, but when they found out it had a certain side effect, they forgot all about the people with pulmonary hypertension and marketed it for fun.
Yes, well, I understand that.